Are we good?
All right, before we start the service, we're just going to do a wee bit of housekeeping. Bathrooms are out and to the right. Women's is first, and then men's is a wee bit more down. 105 is right across the hall, and that's where tiramisu and chai will be after the service.
What else do you have?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Everyone grab one of these as you come in, please, as a memorial. And at the end of that table, well, backtrack about 6-7 weeks ago when Devi was in the hospital, it came to me to do her autobiography, finish it, put it into a book form. So that's what I've been doing since she's passed. And it's at the designers, and in about 2 months I'll be able to ship it out. I'd love to ship it to everyone I can. It's a gift from IHT. That's why the price is wonderful. There's all free stuff, selling Swamiji's book. And actually this book, the designer is making it the same way as his book, so they'll go together on your shelf.
Oh.
I thought that was appropriate, and that was the designer's idea. And that's all I have, thank you.
There are ink pictures in the back there that were in the things that they brought back from Japan. So some of those are by Devi, some of them are by Swamiji, and some of them are by someone with the first letter of K. But she brought all of them back from Japan. And so please feel free afterwards, besides looking at the tables and having some refreshments and just chatting, please feel free to look and take whatever one of those you wish, okay? When you come up to speak, because Andy is recording here, we can be on this side of the table, or we can be on this side of the table. So you get to choose. All right, or in the middle. Thank you all for making the effort to come today to celebrate the life of Ma Devi Bharati. One of the best ways for you to honor her today is to remember to fold your clothes neatly tonight. Don't just throw them on the floor. Don't just throw them on a chair. Fold them. It's a reflection of the mind, how you tend to this simple task. And she scolded many of us so that we got it right. The other thing you can do is, with all your heart, sing with us at the end, Sat Chit Ananda, in a round, which she loved to conduct at the end of satsangs, okay? So no one heads out that door before we are done with that, no one. Ma Devi was a wise and brilliant Jnana yogi, a devoted and loving bhakti yogi, and was the embodiment of karma yoga. She was one of the hardest working persons I have ever known. We have poems, songs, and reflections being shared today from many of her longtime students. Ma Devi touched an incredible number of lives, and through it all, she loved every one of you. One of Devi's greatest success stories, and one of her most shining examples of patience, was teaching Ken Pearson Hatha Yoga. So Ken has some reflections and thoughts that he would like to share.
Thank you, and thank all of you for coming today, and special thanks to the people who made this really beautiful memorial for Ma Devi. Almost everyone, if not everyone here, knows who I am. That my name's Ken Pearson. I'm related to Kate.
Not related.
And I have been a student of Ma Devi's for 25 years. We actually didn't talk about this beforehand, but one of the first things I was going to talk about was my experience in that first Hatha Yoga class. And the first person that I met at the yoga center was Ma Devi, and that was back in 1998. I won't tell the story of how I ended up there because that takes too long and it's kind of convoluted, but I ended up at a yoga center. I had never taken a yoga class before. I barely knew what yoga was. Devi was the first person I met. She said, "Come on down, let's do some stretching." And it was, I was so impressed. She obviously sized me up very quickly. This guy is ignorant. He doesn't know anything. He's stiff as a board, and he's highly, highly competitive. That's just in my nature. And for those of you who've either taken or taught Hatha, that's kind of a toxic combination. It's a dangerous combination. So all I heard, and it may have only been directed to me, but all I heard during that first class was, "Don't worry, do only what your body will do. Don't compete. Don't get frustrated if the people next to you really seem to know what they're doing. They've got different bodies, they've practiced longer. Don't worry, it'll all be okay." And I actually came back, which is a little bit of a miracle. Years later, many, many years later, by that time I was an old timer at the center, I learned that she had very clear memories of that day and that her biggest worry after that first day of me taking Hatha Yoga was that I wouldn't come back. I came back only because she was so gentle and kind, and this was just part of Devi's nature. She tried to make sure that everyone was okay. Everyone. It was delightful to be around her. She was not concerned about her own situation or difficulties. It was always an effort to make everyone else feel at home and comfortable. And those of you who know Devi do know, as Kate referred to a little bit, she was just a tireless worker. Some of what I'm going to tell you goes so far back, some of you won't be familiar with it, but we had dinner and a movie night at the center years ago. And she would, I don't want to diss Nandini, who I know did a tremendous amount of work for those, but she would at least coordinate and often do cooking and cleanup and all this work, incredible amount of work to make these events happen. And it was really the same with the IHT weekend seminars, which were quite long and involved. And it was the same for the annual conferences. It was always Devi behind the scenes, doing the organizing, and often making sure the event was executed correctly. She never sought, and in fact tried to avoid the spotlight, never sought any credit, and yet none of IHT really could have happened without her. She, in my view, was really the embodiment of selfless service to others. You saw it all the time with her. I don't quite know how to put this because my life has just been so much different than hers, but her life was so much different than mine. And it was so much different than most of the people that I've known in my life. She was a nun for 7 years, and I don't mean it in a condescending or insulting way, but that thought just that wouldn't occur to me. It just was not part of my life, but it was part of hers. And after she was done with that, she connected with Swami Jaidev, Justin O'Brien at that time, traveled the world, connected with Swami Rama, studied spirituality, lived in India, Nepal, England, Japan, the US. She got around. She got around. And I still remember this too. In 2000, Kate and I and a number of other students had the chance to go to India with Devi and Yogi and Swamiji. And Devi just found it, she wasn't being mean about it, but she really found it pretty hilarious that we all had so many questions like, how do you pack for a trip like this? How do you pack for India? And this is a woman who really, for an India trip, she could haul out her bag and be packed in about 2 minutes because she'd done it so many times. But for most of us, this was new turf, and she found it pretty funny that we were so stressed about what to bring to a trip to India. When we were there, she was again so caring and thoughtful of others, making sure, do you have enough food? Do you have hot water? Are you good? Is everything okay? Because it was cold in the mountains. Do you have enough clothes? This was just Devi's service to the world. She always thought of, took care of others. And she rarely talked about herself and her journey unless she was the only one around to talk at a time when a teacher should be talking. If she was the one who had to do the lecture, that's kind of how she would put it, then we would hear some stories about her life, which again was so different from our own. But the stories I most enjoyed were the stories of her time as Swami Rama's personal attendant, sewing his robes, making his tilk, writing his manuscripts, and rewriting them when people who shouldn't have tinkered with them. She just had a wealth of experience. She was a sponge around Swami Rama. She soaked up everything that he was able to teach her, and of course was teaching to others. And then she gave it back. She gave it back to all of us. I am forever grateful for that. She just had an enormous impact on my life, and had she not been the gracious, selfless, giving person that she is, I wouldn't be here, because I really, truly would not have come back. That first class was. Kate would maybe be the only person in this room who could really appreciate how hard that was for me, but it was incredibly hard. I do it regularly enough, but I don't like looking like a fool, and she just made that okay. Without saying, oh, it's okay to be a fool again. She made it okay, and she was just fantastic that way. I owe her an incredible debt, and I'm so glad, so honored to have had a chance to talk a little bit about this today. Thank you.
Kevin Miles. Kevin Miles has been with IHT for many, many years. During Davy's time at Prelude in Woodbury, he would visit often, bring his guitar, and they would sing together. So Kevin has a song and a story. Kevin, would you like a chair?
No, this is good.
Okay.
So, Nandini asked me to sing, and Kate did, And I thought, well, should I sing some of the songs that we sang there, like Old Susanna and Down in the Valley and stuff like that. Give me land, lots of land. But they would always ask me, what chants do you know? What chants? And I could never think of any. And these chants came into my mind that I'm going to sing today. So one of my little stories about my baby, I've got two. And so I was going to visit after I moved down to St. Louis in 2011. I'd come back because I had to move furniture and I'd stay at the ashram. What a privilege that was. And so my Devi was gardening, and she asked me if I wanted to go out in the garden with her. And so, yeah, and we went out there and we were picking weeds. And this rush of love came over me that made me want to weep. And this kind of rush that I would feel when I sensed the presence of a great teacher like Swami Rama, Jesus, that feeling of I'm in the presence, And well, it occurred to me at that moment that he was gardening with her again. Like they used to garden at the ashram in Nepal, right? It was Nepal. She would garden with Swami Rama there. His servant, he was always with his servant. She was his servant all the time. I've got another story too, and that is another example of that. On the New Year's Eve, one time I took a post to meditate, during the night. I came in at 6 in the morning, and there was my baby. So she'd been the 5 to 6. But when I walked into the room, there was the scent of sandalwood filled the air. And we were just meditating. I thought she was wearing perfume or something. And but when she got up to leave, it was gone, just vanished. And I asked her later if she was wearing anything. She looked crazy. He was always with her. He's with her. Anybody's worried about where she is. He's with her. Anyway, so this song. Anybody familiar with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevadasa? So, let me be your servant, basically. So it's her. Om Namo
Thank you, Kevin. Next we have a poem written by Daya, and I will let Daya tell the story of the creation of the poem that she wrote the day that Devi left her body.
I practiced this to the cottonwood trees a lot of times. I did. And they listened. And they listened so well that it made me wonder if my Devi was there with me. It was one of our wonderful 90-degree days. The humidity was low, so it was okay. But there was no wind. And I was standing in the back of my property, and I have these huge 60-foot cottonwood trees, and they're just beautiful. And it was very, very still that day, and I thought, well, I'll just practice to the trees because they'll like it no matter what, right? And just off to my right, there was, the leaves are just starting to turn gold. There was this one leaf hanging, and it was a gold leaf. And it was fluttering a little bit. And I thought, isn't that interesting that that leaf is fluttering and I don't see any wind? And I thought, isn't that wonderful? Maybe she's here with us. So I said, you know what, Ma Devi, I need more than just a little leaf fluttering. Give me more of a sign. I want to know. Give me something better. So as I was practicing this, because I tried to memorize it, I was making mistake after mistake after mistake, and I was getting mad at myself. And I said, okay, one more time, here it is. I'm going to memorize this poem. So as I did, I got to this one part where, and I'll read it in just a sec, where it said, I was getting her attention. And at that moment, a helicopter, a low-flying helicopter, that if I looked up, I probably could have seen the pilot, flew over my head and continued on. And I went, thank you, good going. That was a good one. That was exactly what I don't do the leaf thing. Do a helicopter, I like that a lot. So anyway, this was written August 5th, 2023 at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it was only moments after I found out of my Devi's passing through a text from our lovely friend. And it was right during my meditation time, and there was that overwhelming feeling where I couldn't focus because there was this flood of words that was coming through me, and I couldn't deny it. I couldn't ignore it. I had to get up from wherever I was and write these words down, and this is kind of what happened. Holding my breath for far too long, finally a time for release, wishing for a safe journey into that unknown peace. Some say, carry on, soldier, steps in a rhythmic beat, moving forward in a line, forever my Lord to meet. Then my heart softly spoke, as if to say, slow down, this has all been done before, it's all gone round and round. Yet, carry on, live in the light of love. See yourself as perfect, she said, directing from above. To some, she was a mother, and to others, she teacher, strict and just. But to me, she was a mirror to look into, and I must. So now those days are over, her spirit clothed in God's glove. We live on into eternity, dancing our own song of love. Vaya con Dios, Amaji.
There are many email tributes that have come in to IHT and to Yes Publishers. And Drew Korsberg will read to us a sampling of those tributes.
This one is from Ralph and Madavi. Says, Pranam, Ralph and I are very sad to know about Teresa's passing away. We have known Justin and her for more than 3 decades. We have a lot of beautiful memories when they visited our home and stayed with us, and also when we visited their ashram. We are Guru Bhais and will always remain so. That was Ralph and Madavi. The next one's from Sharon Heitzman. I think a lot of us know Sharon. She goes, Namaste. Wow, this is powerful. Thanks for sharing. I heard very little of Devi's personal journey over the years. I first met her as Teresa King in Glenview, Illinois in 1975, when I met Swami Rama for the first time. We lived in Des Plaines in Chicago. I'm not pronouncing that right, am I? I'm not from Chicago. I'm from Missouri. In Chicago for 3 years and attended classes and lectures at the Himalayan Institute Center there. The first time I met Teresa, she was typing on an electric typewriter at the reception desk in the center. I would see her there from time to time. We were there for the grand opening of the center and the magnolia tree, which could be seen through lecture hall windows. Suddenly, all of its blossoms that morning, they all bloomed. Also, they must have laid sod in the dark because we were there the evening before and there was no grass, but it was there lush and green the day of the opening. Oh, I miss those days with Swami Rama when he was present in our lives. Of course, Justin O'Brien was there, and Phil and Martin Ryder. Samskriti was also there at the time, and Gopala, they lived at the ashram. Gopala ran the press. I think Dale Beagle came the second year we were there. Sharon Heitzman. This one came from Louise Paré. Is that Louise? The morning after Devi left her body, she came to my mind several times in the early morning while I was still sleeping. When I woke up around 5:30 a.m., I felt a kind of soft, warm release with her name when her name came to my mind. I felt an infusion of her loving presence, which I had not experienced while she was in her body. I felt a quiet smile from within me show up on my face, and I felt any and all remnants of fear towards her dissolve. I knew I wanted to create a living room altar to honor her in our sister-friend relationship. I copied several pictures of her blog, gathered the beautiful Kuan Yin statue she gave me many years ago, a long piece of red ribbon for my altar, and 3 small white votive candles. After it was arranged, I realized I had no flowers to put in it. After work, I came home to find a bouquet of white and orange roses from my housemate sitting on my kitchen counter. She knew nothing about Devi's passing or the altar that I had created, and I passed them on to her at the altar. There is a young woman I work with at the Y who I feel fear towards because of her erratic emotionality. I was supposed to work with her that morning when Laurel's name came to my mind, and I felt fear about her. The last couple days of the energy between us had been grounded and pleasant. I know this was another of Devi's gifts. I will be with you in spirit at the memorial celebration. I love tiramisu. So we'll go to the local sweet shop, which makes an excellent one, and savor it in celebration of Ma Devi's remarkable life. Namaste, Louise Paré, PhD. Minnie Wiconi. Here's a short one from Jess Sittery. Greetings, IHT community. Thank you for sharing the news of Ma Devi's passing from this world to the next incarnation of what is to be. Ma Devi was such an important part of bringing the Himalayan tradition to so many people around the world. It was indeed my good fortune to have been a student of hers and to receive such kindness, goodwill, and support. Namaste. Here's one from Dane Johnson. Blessings on her cosmic journey, a bright light now brighter. I'll see you in my dreams. Namaste, Dane Johnson. I've got another Johnson, Don Johnson. This is Minnesota, so. I was saddened to hear, this is common, I was saddened to hear of the loss of my precious, Swamiji's not here so we can't make Irish jokes anymore. I was, at least in the body. I got the mic now, Swamiji. I was saddened to hear of the loss of my precious and early teacher of yoga meditation. That's what Don Johnson said. And then on the tribute wall was a really nice comment from Swami Ridhavan. He said, with blessings of the lineage, may her Jiva Atma, so Mahadevi's Jiva Atman, be welcomed to the heavenly realms of happiness, and may her return to this loka be swift to resume her life of love and service. Shri Guruve Om. And here's the last one from Linda Johnson. I think a lot of you have met Linda. She's come and spoke at IHT quite a bit in the past. She says, I've been crying so hard since reading your email. Intellectually, I realized that given her dementia, in a way, Mahadevi's passing was a blessing. But I think of how much she gave of herself, how much she did for the world, how selflessly she served, and I start sobbing again. I can't even begin to thank her for how deeply she changed my life, and by bringing me aboard at IHT, or excuse me, at Yes International. I can't even begin to express how much I owe her. I feel very, very much that the whole planet right now is in a terrible place. People like Swami Jayadev, Mahadevi, and you, the recipient of the email, have helped make experience in the world meaningful. Swami Jayadev and Mahadevi are in a much better place now, wherever they are. They are creating light. With a broken heart, Linda Johnson, love to all, and carry on. I wanted to say, my personal words, just a couple things. I personally feel, and I think you all feel this too, like a sense of gratitude for what Swamiji and Amaji taught. And I think what they taught at IHT was the pure deal. You know, it was, I think, was it someone previously was talking about how they, she absorbed everything from Swami Rama. And if ever you go to the real primary books, you go to Lectures on Yoga or Super Conscious Meditation, Swami Rama's books, they're identical. It's all, I remember looking at Lecture on Yoga and saying, well, they taught all of this. This was all part of the routine, and so you just had to be there. So I think we were exceptionally fortunate to get that education and teaching from them. So that's what I just wanted to say. Thanks. And one last thing. We got, with Swami Jayadev and Mahadevi, we got 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have Kevin sing another song. Come on up, Kevin.
So, what better example of Shiva in our lives than this? Shiva in our lives. So, Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Kevin. The book of Devi's poems, Child of Dawn, Mother of Twilight, is a beautiful gift to the world. For longtime students, we have Dina and Vashali and Sandhya and Mikhail, and they're each going to be reading a selection from that book. So first we have Dina.
So first I'd like to just tell a little Devi story. I have so many. She was first a teacher and a second mom and a friend. And Monica and I were talking about this at lunch today, so it's one of the stories I'll tell. But we were on our first India trip in 2006. And I had the privilege of being Devi's roommate for most of that trip. I say privilege, I did get in trouble quite a bit. But one of the first nights we were there, we were at the ashram in Rishikesh. And we were told when we arrived not to pet the dogs, not to play with the dogs. The dogs were there for security, leave them alone. So being wide awake that night, Devi and I talked well into the night. And the entire time, these two dogs were sitting outside our door. And she quietly got up in the middle of one of our conversations and opened the door and brought the dogs in. So we each had a dog sleep with us that night. And then early in the morning, she quietly opened the door and shooed them outside. So that was one of my favorite memories of her. So this poem is called Love Song. You're wondering if I love you. Well, if you reach inside my mind, untangling all the webs of thought with searching fingers, sorting out this pile for me, this pile for all the rest. If you could hear my body speak and feel beneath the shattered breath, the liquid limbs and energy condensed to fire when you brush past this soul. If you could see into my heart to count the nesting roses there and watch them bloom awake when you say, hi there, how are you today? Then you would have your answer. Thank you.
So lovely to see everyone. I'll be reading Sacred Rivers. Sacred river, flowing over rocks of pain, cleansing through the sands of time, collecting streams of insight, graced with petals of wisdom, leaves of knowledge, light of self-love, and flowing, gently flowing, to the vast divine sea, able at last to say, I am that. And I'm Sandhya. Okay. The publisher. I don't think I read this one yet, so thank you. I hold my breath, not daring to move, lest the edge of a letter, the curve of a comma, should tilt itself off a line and slither down the page. I weigh the book's bulk and measure its size and count the pages like a brand new mother counting toes. One after another, I turn each page, judging the scent of the ink. I can't look at you. The texture of paper, the strength of the glue, the crackling of the spine. Finally, I sigh, releasing anxiety and regret. in one long breath, holding up the child I just brought forth. After months of work and pain, and give it happily to the world.
It's good to see everybody. This is what is healing. Healing is remembering, it is remembering who we really are. Beings of beauty, joy, wholeness, goodness, bliss. It is realizing that we are ever so much more than we think we are, and touching that place within us that knows this to be true. Healing is a return to balance and reality after our explorations into chaos, fear, separation, and confusion. Healing is remembering who we really are.
I'm gonna go get the box of Kleenex. And we're gonna I brought a full box today. Yeah. Just pass it through. It means you love her that much.
All right, you can bring your Kleenex up with you, because I would like to turn the microphone over now to any of you who would like to come up and share thoughts or stories or anything that is special to you from your time with Ma Devi. Come on.
Namaste. I am the email Don Johnson. Regrettably not Irish. I met Teresa almost 40 years ago. And over the time that I've known her, I've seen her in and out of different roles and scripts. It made me tired just watching her. I would have to take a nap sometimes. She was in charge of everything. If you were volunteering to work in the garden on Summit Avenue in the spring, she was in charge of that. Don't pick the weeds too quickly. Be mindful. I just want to get this thing out of the ground. But you want me to make this a spiritual practice. And then I just want to get the thing done. And she would come out and take her breaks. She'd have these benches in the garden. You had to sit down there and do a practice for 5-10 minutes. Then you go back to waiting. I wanted to get it done. So there was a way in which she would show up. And her very presence would have me check my rhythm, how I was moving through the day. I used to love New Year's Eve. If any of you were involved in those practices, you start the night before, and then you sit all day long. And she, and at that time it was Justin, and Charles was with them at the time, Charles Bates, and they would take turns. And I'd always try to get the last time she sat so I could sit next to her. That's what kind of effect she had on me. The other thing that was really cool about her is the space between Christmas and New Year's. She could cook some food. And then she would you would not leave her house without a bag. So that was sort of the very practical side of her. She wanted to feed you in many different ways. She was not just a spiritual teacher to me, she was a rascal. She knew how to have fun, And she wanted to make sure that while the practice of spirituality is sacred in many ways, she wanted to make sure that you included joy as one of the primary ingredients. And she gave the best hugs. So I will miss her. I will miss the rascality. I will miss the teacher. And I will just miss the way that she would be there, knowing what you needed, and oftentimes knowing that not necessarily included words. Sometimes silence was just as important. So, thank you.
As always, it is really good to see many familiar faces. First, I'd like to say a thank you to all the people that was caregivers for her in her last life, during her hospital stay and during memory care. I think we all give big thanks to those people. Ma Devi, I fondly called her the bulldog. She was feisty. And there's a lot of stories you can tell of her, but briefly, I just want to say one episode that I had. First time in India, went to the ashram, and I had an interesting experience that day. But that night, when I laid down, I asked myself 2 questions. And usually when I ask myself a question, it's kind of a blank. The answer doesn't come. I start thinking about it and come in all sorts of ways. But this time, when I asked 2 questions, it came to me immediately with such clarity. I knew it didn't come from me, it came to me. And the 2 questions I asked was, who is Swami Jayadev? Who is Ma Devi? And the answer came, love. And I know each of you can think of many episodes where that love was shown to you in many different circumstances, many different ways. So I thank her for all that experience that I had, that the love was shown to me in many different ways, many different circumstances. I thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Monica. I met Ma Devi in the fall of 2000. I went to a yoga class before my husband and I got stationed here. He was in the military at the time. And we had been stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado, and I went to a yoga class, and for the first 5 minutes of the class, we were supposed to sit there quietly, not doing anything. And I was wondering, what the heck kind of class is this? Just sitting here. Everybody was so calm, and I couldn't sit still. So we got stationed here, and that really stayed with me. So as soon as we got here, I went to the phone book, and I looked up M for meditation. Remember phone books? And it said meditation center. So I'm like, that's gotta be a place that teaches you how to sit still, right? So I called and I went to the meditation center. They told me they had satsang, and I went and I took a class, and I'm like, this place is really weird. So then I left, and there was a postcard for a yoga conference. I'm like, yoga conference? I like conferences. Grabbed the postcard, and it said IHT, so I called that place, and that's when I met Ma Devi over the phone. She answered the phone, very friendly, and I explained to her, I'm just wanting to find out if you offer meditation classes and yoga. And she spoke to me so friendly and invited me to come over for Thursday for this thing called satsang. And I'm like, oh God, is it gonna be weird like that other place? But okay, I'll try anything once or twice. So I showed up and she was the teacher, and the reason I stayed is because Kate had made this sweet potato soup. It was the best soup I have ever had. And I'm like, I'm coming back to this place. So many of you here have seen me because I came every single weekend. For the 3 years we were stationed here. And I did all the workshops. I did all the classes, I did all the workshops, and then I signed up for the yoga teacher training because I wanted to deepen my practice. Okay, Ma Devi, I'm gonna do it, but I am not teaching yoga. I'm just gonna do it to deepen my practice. Yeah. So I did the teacher training, and that week was the worst week of my life. And the best week of my life. I went home every day bawling and not knowing why I was crying so hard. I still don't know, but I think I was shedding a lot of things that I didn't need. Bawling really ugly. Like I was holding it during training. It was hot that week, remember? Teachers came from all over the place. It was like the Matrix download, like that. And I would go home crying and crying every night for that whole week, 1 week of that. And then, thank God, we had a year to turn in all our stuff. I took the whole year. Anywho, I graduated, and now I was supposed to be a yoga teacher. But remember, I told her I'm not teaching yoga. So anyway, I teach yoga now. And the reason I'm standing here is because she wanted me to tell you 2 things. Number 1, she implanted in each of us a seed for us to pass on to others. And even though we're going, that's what we need to do. And the second thing is the importance of staying connected with each other. Oh, there's a third thing. Okay, she's not gone. She is now free to be with all of us at the same time because she's not limited by her body. So after I left in 2003 to go to DC, I kept showing up. Hi. Would go to the silent retreats, and the last few years, she didn't remember my name. She recognized my face, but she didn't remember my name, and that was okay. But I remember talking to her, and we were talking about, she asked me something about my childhood, and I didn't grow up with a mother, so she was my mother, except I didn't really realize that for so long. And I got in trouble all the time, everything, I got in trouble a lot. And so she asked me something about my childhood, and I answered her, and she goes, good, that means you've healed. You can tell me about it without crying. And that was the last thing she said to me. And I mean, I saw her after that, but I have no words to describe how much she means to me. She and Swamiji, I was born in Italy and I grew up in Panama, and I showed up at the ashram and they embraced me like I was the most divine being and tried to convince me that I wasn't all those things that I had recited in my mind that I was, that were so ugly. And they removed all of that and replaced it with this wonderful stuff, and taught me how to love life. And I will forever be grateful for each of you for coming into my life through them. Thank you, and thanks, Ma Devi.
I just have one short thing. I spent some time with Hamaji, and while she was in the hospital, she was for several days just not responding to anything. And then I would spend the night, and one morning, she decided that she was gonna get up. And so she's trying to bolt out of bed, and I'm trying to keep her and push her, and finally they came in and made sure that she was safe and that she was okay, and we sat her up a little bit. And so I was just sitting there talking to her, and we did morning prayers, and then she looked in the corner and she just pointed, and she had this big grin on her face. And I said, Amaji, who are you talking to? And she didn't say a thing. She just kept smiling. And then she went back to Prelude and had a few more, almost a week, and that was it. But it was, I would have to say, the blessing of my life to be able to spend time with her. That's all I can say.
Anyone else? Okay. We have come to the singing part. So we're going to finish here with a practice in fearlessness. We are going to sing together. One of the many things that Devi did in her life was she was a choir director. And she was totally in her element when she was directing us at satsang. She divided us into 3 groups, and she directed us as we sang Sat Chit Ananda in a round. So, you know it. This is how it's going to work. So let me ask here so we can make sure we have people planted who do know it. Who knows Sat Chit Ananda? Oh, we're a little low on this side here. All right, so we're going to divide into 3. So we're going to do from Andy's row over, that's 1. From Casey over to Dina's row. And then we're going to have Jean and Pam, that row, and the folks in the perimeter there. Okay? All right. So I'm going to sing it once, so those who don't know it, and anyone can join me while I'm doing that. And just you can hum or whatever, but it might be helpful to have a couple people who know it kind of slide over, and you can a little bit, just so we keep it strong. I just want to make sure I get it all. Okay, and we're all going to sing it, so I'll do it once so you can kind of hear it, and anyone else can join in. And we're going to you do it 3 times, okay? So you're going to start, and then you're going to come in, and then you're going to come in, and you're going to do that 3 times. So commitment here, people, all right? Commitment and follow through. Nobody goes like after the second one, oh, that's enough. No. Thrice, all right? Okay. All right, this is Satchitananda. Satchitananda, 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 Satchitananda. That's it, except you do it 3 times. So they'll go Satchitananda, and then the second group comes in, Satchit, and then the third group will come in, okay? We are so ready for this. And remember, you are being recorded. All right, are you ready, group 1? All right, here we go. Satchitananda, 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 Satchitananda.
that was really beautiful. Thank you.
Alrighty. Our deepest gratitude to everyone for coming today to honor this amazing woman. To all who helped make this happen, we had Pam do signs and the memorial card, we had Dina bring the chai, we had Andrew bring the tiramisu, Andy for recording the event. To our speakers, to our singer, to everyone who came and helped set up and may help take down, and finally to Nandini, who was by my side. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Kate.
Chai, tiramisu, visiting tables, all of it. Enjoy.